There is a quiet misconception that saturates the way we think about faith. We imagine faith as something serene, calm, composed, a gentle candle glowing in a tranquil room. We imagine it soft, comforting, tender. Faith becomes, in our minds, a cushion for the weary, a soothing balm for the wounded, a warm blanket against a cold world. But faith, real faith, does not grow in soft places. It does not develop in predictable spaces. It does not rise from gentle winds or clear skies. Faith is born in storms. Faith is carved through struggle. Faith is sharpened in tension. Faith is forged in the heat of chaos. It is in the collision between what we hope for and what we fear, what we expect and what we receive, who we think God is and who God proves himself to be, that faith takes its true shape. Faith isn't proven in peace, it's forged in chaos. These words feel heavy because they are true, and nothing inside the human soul wants them to be true. We want God to prove himself through comfort, ease, blessings, open doors, answered prayers, and quiet mornings. But God does his greatest work not in the calm, but in the upheaval. Not in the stability, but in the shaking. Not in the comfort, but in the crisis. Because faith is not found in the places where life makes sense. Faith is found when life becomes unrecognizable. Peace feels safe. Chaos feels like abandonment. It's easy to look at the calm seasons of life and declare confidently, "My faith is strong." When health is steady, relationships are whole, success is rising, prayers feel answered, and the horizon glows with possibility, faith feels effortless. But faith untested is faith unknown. You don't know the strength of a tree on a still day. You know it when the wind howls. You don't know the strength of a ship on calm waters. You know it in the storm. You don't know the strength of your soul in quiet seasons. You know it in the chaos. Chaos reveals what peace conceals. Chaos exposes what peace excuses. Chaos tests what peace praises. In peace you feel God near. In chaos you discover whether you trust him. Chaos strips away the illusions of faith. We all carry illusions, ideas about life, about God, about ourselves that feel true until they are tested. Chaos tears those illusions apart. We imagine faith means God will protect us from hardship. God will shield us from disappointment. God will prevent heartbreak. God will remove obstacles. God will make obedience painless. But chaos shatters these assumptions. Faith does not promise an easy path. It promises a meaningful one. Chaos is the environment where illusions die and truth is born. It is in chaos that we learn. Faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is movement despite fear. Faith is trusting when trusting hurts. Faith is surrender without guarantees. Faith is belief when evidence disappears. Faith is choosing God when nothing else makes sense. Only chaos can teach these lessons. God uses chaos because peace alone cannot transform. We crave peace because peace is comfortable, but comfort rarely produces growth. Peace protects us, chaos expands us. Peace sustains us, chaos transforms us. Peace gives us rest, chaos gives us depth. Peace reassures, chaos reveals. Peace comforts the surface, chaos reshapes the core. If God only operated through peace, we would remain spiritually shallow. Our trust would be circumstantial. Our devotion would be transactional. Our obedience would depend on convenience. Chaos destabilizes the soul long enough for God to rebuild it. The furnace of transformation, every significant transformation in human history, individual or collective, emerged from chaos. Gold is purified in fire. Steel is strengthened in heat. Roots deepen in storms. Muscles grow through resistance. Wisdom rises from suffering. Courage forms in danger. Clarity emerges from confusion. The soul is no different. Faith is not built in calm spaces. Faith is built when your world is on fire. The furnace of life burns away. Pride, self-reliance, illusions, idols, false expectations, shallow beliefs, until only what is eternal remains. Chaos is not punishment. It is purification. The God who walks into storms across sacred history. God rarely calls people into peaceful, predictable lives. He calls them into chaos and walks into it with them. Noah faced a flood. Abraham faced the unknown. Jacob wrestled in the dark. Joseph faced betrayal. Moses faced Pharaoh. David faced giants. Esther faced annihilation. Daniel faced lions. Jonah faced a storm. Mary faced scandal. Jesus faced death. Chaos is not a sign of abandonment. Chaos is the stage upon which God displays his power. Peace shows God's kindness. Chaos shows God's sovereignty. When chaos breaks, you open. Real chaos is not merely difficulty. It is disorientation. It is waking up one day and realizing your plans are gone, your control has vanished, your strength is insufficient. Your heart is shattered, your logic has failed, your prayers seem unanswered, your expectations have collapsed. Chaos does not ask for your permission. It breaks open the places you tried to protect. You cannot hide in chaos. You cannot pretend. You cannot perform. You cannot numb. You cannot bypass the truth. Chaos confronts you with yourself and with God. Faith in chaos is not majestic. It is raw. It is trembling. It is whispered. It is fragile. It is costly, but it is real. Faith begins where understanding ends. True faith is not logical agreement with divine plans. True faith is trust when you have no idea what the plan is. You do not need faith. When life is predictable, when doors open easily, when answers come quickly, when prayers feel heard, when clarity is abundant, when the path is visibly, you need faith. When the world falls apart, when you lose what you thought you could not live without, when God seems silent, when prayers bounce off ceilings, when nothing matches your expectations, when fear feels overwhelming, when hope feels foolish, when obedience feels impossible. Faith begins in the dark. It begins when the mind can no longer understand, and the heart must decide whether to trust. Chaos creates this decision point, and it is here that faith is born. Chaos reveals who you were always meant to become. You can live your whole life thinking you know who you are until chaos reveals you. Chaos shows the resilience you didn't know you had, the strength you didn't know was buried in you, the courage you didn't know you possessed, the depths of your trust, the truth of your convictions, the real orientation of your heart. Chaos is not God trying to destroy who you are. It is God trying to reveal who you were always meant to be. You cannot become your future self while clinging to your past self. Chaos tears the old self apart, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. Faith grows in this tearing. Faith deepens in this shedding. Faith strengthens in this surrender. The faith that survives. Chaos is unshakable. Peace can produce belief, but only chaos can produce unshakable faith. Peace-based faith is fragile, circumstantial, conditional, dependent on emotional stability. Chaos-based faith is different. It is faith that has been tested in fire. This kind of faith does not collapse when prayers are delayed, does not break when answers never come. does not flee when suffering increases, does not crumble when circumstances worsen, does not depend on understanding, does not demand explanations, does not shrink before uncertainty. Faith that survives chaos becomes faith that can survive anything. It becomes steel. It becomes rooted. It becomes unstoppable. It becomes eternal. When the storm becomes sacred, there comes a moment, often quiet, often surprising, when the chaos that nearly destroyed you becomes the place where you encounter God in a way you never have. You realize God was never distant, God was never silent, God was never punishing, God was never absent. God was never indifferent. He was shaping, He was refining, He was preparing, He was strengthening. He was removing what would have killed your destiny. He was forging faith, not peaceful faith, resilient faith, not shallow faith, depth-born faith, not borrowed faith, personal faith, not decorative faith, battle-tested faith. Suddenly, the storm becomes sacred, not because you enjoyed it, but because you were transformed by it. The calm that comes after chaos. Eventually, the storm ends, the winds ease, the dust settles, the darkness lifts, and you realize something unexpected. The peace after chaos is deeper than the peace before it, because the peace before the storm was fragile. The peace after the storm is fortified. The peace before the storm was circumstantial. The peace after the storm is spiritual. The peace before the storm was something you protected. The peace after the storm is something God protected. And most importantly, the peace before the storm did not require faith. But the peace after the storm was born from faith. Faith forged in chaos becomes the foundation of destiny. Every great calling requires great faith. Every great faith requires great chaos. You cannot walk into destiny with untested trust. You cannot lead others through storms you have never faced. You cannot carry purpose without endurance. You cannot hold spiritual authority without scars. You cannot rise to who you were created to be without surviving what was designed to shape you. Chaos is not a detour. Chaos is the path. Chaos is not the enemy. Chaos is the catalyst. Chaos is not the end of faith. Chaos is the birthplace of faith. Chaos is the forge. Faith is the flame. Faith isn't proven in peace. It's forged in chaos. This is not a poetic sentence. It is the architecture of spiritual transformation. Chaos is the furnace. Faith is the gold. Chaos is the storm. Faith is the anchor. Chaos is the breaking. Faith is the rebuilding. Chaos is the shaking. Faith is the foundation that remains. If you are standing in chaos right now, shaking, breaking, confused, afraid, you are not failing. You are being forged. The faith being formed in you will not merely survive storms. It will walk into them with courage. And one day, you will look back at the chaos that terrified you and say, "That was the moment my faith was born."